is No Gifts Please, the parenting podcast by the pair with no real gifts, but a whole lot of gumption. Hey everyone, I'm Steve Noviello.
And I'm Jenny Anchondo.
It's nice to see you. I have to thank you from our last episode. I kind of showed up wound a little tight. I'm not gonna lie.
We can do that. We all get to do that sometimes.
We all have those days, right?
I honestly am thankful to finally see you flustered. Because I thought it was impossible. And everybody loves to know that their friends are human.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And even the people who are always on time and always remember and always, sort of like, you get stuff done. You're like, right. yeah. It's always a yes.
Right.
That is actually one of my biggest pet peeves. Have you ever been around somebody where the first answer to any question is no? Yours is always
yes. How can I help?
It might take some of this or like maybe a little bit of an explanation, but starting with a yes. So I was glad to see that while you were on time, you were flustered, but now we're back in action.
Yeah. It's funny. The situation that I'm dealing with right now is a lot of people who are like, they're not they don't approach problems with solutions. They approach it with like, here's why we can't. And the frustrating part about that is that I know that if I talk to them long enough, we finally get to here's how I can, but like, why do I need to go on this journey with you? Like, just start with a yes and we'll figure it out.
I think
especially in a professional setting, right? Like if our common goal is the success of a project.
I think sometimes that person is a person who has been has PTSD of being overworked or being in situations where they're all of a sudden taking on things and then it's like a 9-hour day, a 10-hour day, 11 and 12, and then they finally get it back to like their normal day and so they're resistant.
Well, and the other thing that I find is that there are people who, and I am old enough and wise enough to recognize what this is for what it is. There are people who are so concerned about insecure is the word I'm looking for, about their ability that they have to constantly be flexing that they're smarter than everybody else in the room. You know what I mean?
Talking just to talk
and be like, oh no, well you didn't figure out, what about the color temperature and what if you do this? And you're like, okay, like relax. Like what are we doing here? Like we get it. You're the best. You're irreplaceable. Like now let's work on this project.
Giving valedictorian, right? But 40 years later,
yeah, like we're good.
We've moved on.
Like I don't need pat on the back.
It is tough, but I am excited for you.
I'm excited. I wondered where the limit is, and let me tell you, I have discovered it.
You found it. Are you and Doug still finding time for one another in this crazy
time? Yes. So we had an intentional date night. So to show you like how so do you remember JP? I think I told you this. JP that used to be a photographer at Fox and then went to the network. Okay. So long story short, pre-COVID, this is how long ago this was, or maybe it was like 2020. He had contacted me and he was having an issue with his mortgage company and I stepped in and got it. There was an error that was reflecting their payments incorrectly. I stepped in, got it corrected, which apparently resulted in them paying off their house, which I didn't realize it was that big of a deal, but it wasn't like a news story or anything. It was me calling the right person at the right place and
you were just like, do you know who I am?
Not even like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, like a viewer has contacted me, please fix this. And they did, because sometimes I think that it's just a question of some red tape and getting to the right person. Right. And I'm happy to make those, kinds of phone calls. So he sent me a $200 gift card to Nick and Sam's as a thank you, which I thought was so lovely.
That's great.
That gift card, which is an e-gift card, has been sitting in my email inbox ever since.
Oh.
So finally, Doug and I.
The day before it expires.
Well, that's the thing, because my cheap butt, I was like, if I missed it, I'm going to be so angry. And like, I'm not a frequenter of Nick and Sam's nearly. I mean, I literally, it's a great place, but that's not like a Tuesday. That's like anniversary. It could be. Well, it was I think we went on a Friday or Saturday. So anyway, I was like, we're going to Nick and Sam's and he's like, I want to take you to dinner to celebrate all these great things that are happening at work and whatever. And I was like, okay, but we have to use this gift card. So
but I'm planning it.
The first 200's on me and then whatever, whatever. So we went, and it was, you've obviously been to Nick and Sam's. It's very nice. There were a lot of birthdays happening. There was a lot of champagne, a lot of like the balloon. With
I was
going to
say, and like everyone getting video and like
there was a lot of Instagramming. So,
it's definitely Instagram has changed the entire vibe there. Which it doesn't bother me. I mean, I love to photograph everything, so I don't really care.
It's a little closer to like different. The Sugar Factory than I remember it being. It's a little like
so accurate.
Because it used to kind of be like, I don't know if you remember like probably not. I don't think you lived here. Like the old Morton's down in the West End that was like in a basement and like it was all very. And then they built the new one in Uptown. Anyway, so we went, and we got dressed up and we went and we sat down. And do you ever like when you and Heath go to dinner, are you ever like, oh, what are we going to talk about? Like, other than like, I mean, unless we're talking about like scheduling the kid, I'll be like, so.
Okay, this is going to sound, I can't believe I'm going to admit this. I can't believe I'm going to admit this, but sometimes I will keep like in my notes section.
Oh my gosh.
Like things, just like conversation topics that are non-children related that like.
For when you spend time with your husband?
Like just things that I think are fun to talk about. Like, oh, I'm curious about his opinion. My initial inclination is to like send him a voice memo. Like it's 9 in the morning.
Nobody loves a voice memo like Jenny and John do.
You have no. I actually started a voice memo to you last night, and I was like, he does not have time to listen to my podcast. I'm gonna wait until I see him tomorrow. But I'm gonna put.
That's
it on
why
my
we do this show. It's one long voice memo.
I love a voice memo, but sometimes I try to leave him alone when he's at work, right? Because I am also at work, so I need to be working too. But sometimes it'll just be like a good thing. Like I went to that Amon Carter museum, Cowboy Museum today. It was really interesting. Like just like a different take on things. And I was like, oh, I wanted to call him and be like, oh my gosh, let me tell you about this. I'll put it in my little notes section. Next time we have a date night, maybe I'll bring it up. Maybe I won't. And I know that's super lame, but I
love it.
I just want to have, I never want him to like, I always want to be an interesting person to him. Like that I have something to bring to the table besides like what I'm making for dinner this week.
You are VP dinner.
I am VP dinner. Let's not forget.
Let's not forget.
Except for when my mom's in town.
There you go. Well, I would also defer to your mom if I was able to eat her cooking. So, I get in my head sometimes about that, like on the rare occasions, like where it's just the two of us in the car together, like if there's not like constant, because if I'm
then are you like, have we lost it?
Right. Because if I'm in a car with you, or I go to lunch with you, or I'm sitting here with you, it is nonstop talking over each other, you know, like, do you find that in your life, in contrast, when it's you and your husband, you're kind of like, well, and not in like I don't like you kind of way, but just in like a, and I'm like, is that why I like going to dinner with other couples? Because I feel like it's more like, you know, cha-cha-cha.
You're bouncing things off of each other and you're kind of playing and joking and teasing, and they're bringing new things to the table. Maybe they just
have a list.
Maybe they went to the cowboy exhibit and they want to talk about, it's not like a list. It's just like little conversation tidbits. I don't know, things, greater life goals. Or if I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to make like this 5-year plan or blah, blah, blah. I can't just like call him at work and be like, hey, I have this 5-year plan, but then maybe at dinner one time I might be like, you know what? I'm really like, I want to retire in 5 years. I don't, but like, whatever the thing is.
We should go to Japan. Like, let's fit like that, right?
Yes, or like a vacation goal. Then I'll kind of bring that up at a dinner. Like, and it will sometimes come from the list. However, I remember reading one time that like couples that can just sit in silence and enjoy the other person's company. In fact, maybe I learned this like in one of our couples therapy sessions, that if you can sit in one another's company and actually just eat your food in silence and enjoy it, is actually a very evolved, mature couple. That doesn't have a list.
It doesn't have a list. Are you ever in another human being's company in silence? Like other than your husband, right?
Because I'm always talking.
Well, I think, but both of us. I'm not saying this is just a you thing, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I get like, and again, by the way, lovely dinner. We talked about the kids, and like, I also use that as an opportunity to be like, because listen, like, we always hug every morning. We give each other a kiss. I have a hard and fast rule. You do not leave the house without saying goodbye to the other person.
He is good about that too. Like, I would be more inclined to be like snarky if I was annoyed, but he doesn't let it happen.
Like we always, you know, but I also like during dinner, I was like, I love being a dad with you. Like, I cannot believe, like, I knew I'd heard how happy this makes people, but it's just so next level. And like, here's an example from when you weren't around and I was with one of the kids and they said something, or like just having those kinds of like moments and stuff. And I think that the kids is an easy default, obviously, because we're dads together.
Yeah.
But like I do, because, you know, I'm never in the moment. I'm always thinking 10 years ahead. Like one day it's going to just be the two of us.
That's why I have the list. Because I'm worried about that's when everybody gets divorced. Is when the kids are out. And so you
could have a really long list by then. I mean, you have an infant. You have.
I know. It's like you won't have a chance. Like, you're going to be like in the nursing home when she. We'll both be.
Oh gosh.
But I think it's just
Okay, so other people experience this.
Yes.
Of course we talk.
But I mean, you talk about the kids, and I think I get paranoid when I notice that if Heath and I are on a date night and we're just talking about the kids constantly, I get a little nervous because then that's what I worry about, is thinking like, oh, well, what are we going to do when they're like in their own, hopefully they're married and maybe they have kids. And
then we'll talk about our grandkids.
Then we'll talk about our grandkids. It'll be so great and we'll be fine.
So conversely, do you feel like both Heath and Doug, if they were to listen to this podcast, would be like, I don't think that he also is thinking the same thing in his mind the way that I am in that moment.
No, he like doesn't even think about it.
Right. He's like, am I going to have the 20-ounce porterhouse or the 16?
Well, we just recently went to World Springs.
Okay, so was that from?
They need to sponsor this show. First of all,
Christy Ramirez who does PR for them?
I don't know. I went like I paid. Well, Heath paid. But like Heath planned a date. Heath planned a date night to it. Like Denton? It wasn't like sponsored or like nobody. It's in It's in like the Colony.
North. Yes, I was going to say it's north
Colony,
somewhere.
Right where all that Grandscape
I just got a pitch from them. It's the same company that does not Monarch. What's that building? The Thompson where Monarch is.
Oh, yes.
And they're like, oh, you should come up, whatever. And I was like, oh, let's go. It was actually for a gift guide. And actually,
go to Monarch.
The Thompson, and I will say shout out to them. I was like, I'm chairing Grant Halliburton Foundation Hope Party. Is there any way that you could do like a staycation? Because what they were pitching for a story was like, they apparently have this like incredible penthouse that you can stay in at the Thompson. And I was like, I don't know that like
it doesn't make sense.
I don't know that it matches what I'm doing right now, but like, so they donated a staycation, I think spa treatments and like dinner somewhere. I don't think dinner's at Monarch, but still.
On that.
Well, you'll be there. Yeah.
I'll bid on that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, but World Spring.
So World Spring was great. What I was going to say is, when he plans a date, he likes it to be like an experience date. Like sometimes we will go to the shooting range.
No.
So it's what it is. So sometimes we do that, and like we used to way back in the day, we would go golfing. Lately, we'll go do pickleball. And so then he planned World Springs, and I think I was wondering, is it because he doesn't want to just sit there in silence with me at a dinner? But I think it's because he wants to do something
I love that
active.
we are the same brand of crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, so you want to do this, so you don't have to talk to me. But World Springs, though, it was amazing. I would not want to be there on a busy day.
It's like like a series of saunas and things, and like, is it like actual springs that you get in?
It's sort of, they take the elements that are available in these springs all over the world, and then they recreate them all in an order. So you can sort of travel the globe going to these different mineral springs.
I think we did live shots there, maybe Paige or Shannon or somebody.
It was cool. So then they have cold plunges, and then they also have saunas. So I did like the anti-inflammation protocol. And so the anti-inflammation protocol, I mean, listen, we like to multitask.
Was there infrared involved?
Yes. Well, they don't have infrared. I wish they had infrared. It was a regular sauna. So you do like a regular sauna, then you do a pool that has silica in it for its detox properties at 102 degrees. Then you get in the cold plunge for like 30 seconds. Then you get in another pool that's 100 something degrees. So Heath and I did that. He also drank wine during it. And I was just like, I feel like this is like not detoxy. I felt amazing the next day. We did have like it was great. I mean, I think if it was really crowded, I would not want to be.
No, I saw the pictures of it. It sounds really great. So we did that. And then my mother-in-law, so our wedding anniversary was recently, which is not really the one that we celebrate.
What do you mean? Like do you celebrate your dating anniversary?
Yeah. Okay. So like we celebrate, January of 2002.
What's that day?
Is that right? But our wedding anniversary is like, well, and because it's 12 years latter, I mean, it's our wedding anniversary. So, so anyway, it happened to be so she was like, hey, I'm insisting that the two of you take some time for yourselves and like do something about whatever. So I said, okay, well, why don't you take the kids and like we will do something together? And she was like, great. She's like, what time? Like 6 or 7? I was like, no, like 4:35, like, because 6, 7, like they're only up for another hour. Like what's, whatever. So she's like, of course, great. I'll feed them, whatever. So we went and dropped them off at her house. 4:30 or 5, she did like dinner. And by the way, beforehand, Hudson was like, are we sleeping at Granny's? And I was like, oh, buddy, I don't think that's, he said, no, she said we could. And I was like, okay. So I texted her and I was like, hey, cause I'm like, oh my God, please. Yes.
Yeah. That sounds great. Cause then that's breakfast.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So I texted her and I was like, hey, Hudson's asking if they're sleeping at your house tonight. Like, is that a thing? I'm cool either way. Fingers crossed. And she was like, yeah, I kind of planted that seed. I said, well, do you want them to sleep there? She said, I'd love it. And I was like, I'll ask them both. Done. Done. She was like, okay, great. And I was like, no take backsies. Like you said, they could spend the night.
They're so good.
Which is the first night they've ever both slept away from us. So it was very strange to be in our house alone. I will say that. So our big night off, guess what we did?
Stayed home, cleaned, organized.
We went to
you losers.
Eatsies and got takeout. I got a sandwich. And then we came home and we laid on the couch and watched a documentary called Bitcon, which I recommend. And we're in bed by 8:30.
It honestly sounds amazing. It sounds so good. It sounds so
like it was the best Saturday night ever. Like I didn't wipe anybody's butt. I didn't get anybody a snack that wasn't me. I didn't answer any questions. I didn't have to watch Minecraft.
You have to clean up.
Like there was no, like anything that I put away stayed put away. Like it was heaven.
Key.
We did miss them, but it was nice.
But they were. I mean, you guys spent a lot of time with them.
Well, we're their parents.
They are. Yeah. So that's kind of like part of the gig. You guys need to try. So the new like date night, because we only do date nights. It makes it seem like Heath and I go out all the time, but my mom's been in town recently. So she'll do the same thing. She's like, go ahead, go out. So we did Cattle Barons, and then we did like the World Springs thing. And we may do one more thing before she leaves. But what we've been doing lately is just when they go to bed, then we plan like, hey, meet me at like, we say
the
that
kitchen
like,
counter?
8:30. No, like let's hang out at the pool or the fire pit. Like there's that little fire pit in the back and we'll turn on music. We both love country music. So like
that's
turn
nice.
on music and just kind of like catch up.
Oh, that's
or like
sweet.
get in the
I love
pool.
that.
And you guys have a pool.
My husband is asleep at 8:30, so I don't know if that plan would work for us.
Oh my gosh, but on a Friday night.
My husband's asleep at 8:30. Yeah, no, he's definitely sleeping at that point. But I do love that. It's actually funny during our date night. I was like, we'll put on we'll get in the hot tub and just relax. Like again, not worried that anyone's going to drown. Like it's just us.
Yes.
Like it's dark. Like we're not big night swimmers, but I kind of love that vibe. So like, wouldn't that be fun? And no, we were in bed by 8:30. But I do love that.
I also stay up late if you planned it. If you were like, Doug, this Friday, you, me, 8:30, pool. And like some music, like whatever music you guys like. Yeah.
I do love that your property is such that you need to make plans to meet somewhere on it.
Oh my gosh.
I do enjoy that. It's such and that little fire pit area that's so cute.
Great.
And it really is like being because of how it's situated on your property. It is like being away.
It is. When we started that, like, sort of, it was like when I was pregnant, it was so uncomfortable, and he was trying to still like make things fun. I was like, please don't, because I have to do this progesterone and oil shot that's so long and so painful, and it's at a certain time every night. I don't want to do this at the restaurant. Like, let's just. And so then he started kind of coming up with like these home hangouts, and like I would have tea and he would have wine, and I don't know. I
love that.
We'd talk about what's on my list.
I'd pull out the list, and next thing you know, you're pregnant.
Natural. It was so natural. Oh my gosh! I hope he doesn't listen to this one. You guys don't send it to him. Don't tell him. Don't tag him.
But okay, I do want to hear from our listeners though, like because I don't think that so Reed and TJ again. I hate to keep bringing them up on the show, but they won't mind. I have asked the two of them, and they're like, "Oh my god, of course!" Like I get in the car with you, and it's like, you know. Sometimes I get in the car with my husband, and it's like.
So do they have that happen where it's quiet?
Yes,
they do.
I think that and our viewers, and we'll put it in the poll. Like, do you? Like, I think doesn't everybody?
Certainly, unless you were just married.
Well, I was going to ask Hannah about it at work, like, and I'm like, I wonder if she does.
Is he chatty?
Kevin's great. He's very outgoing and very chatty and like makes you feel important when you're around him. You know what I mean? He's one of those people who's like,
I love that.
Make sure that he goes out of his way to say hello and how like engages with you like eye to eye. I'm actually, and this won't be on until after this, but like, so for we're launching our new television show, which by the time this airs, it will have launched. It's Hannah and I. And what she doesn't know is that tomorrow I have a shoot with her husband. We're taking him to a haunted house and doing like a walkthrough. And his name is Kevin. So he's our special Kevin Spondent for the show, and she doesn't know that that's happening. I'm going to surprise her on Tuesday.
Is he going to scare her, or like what?
No, she'll we do this segment on Tuesdays where we try new things, and like she'll read the script and think that we're about to try something that's not.
And then he'll be there like as a reporter.
Right, like we'll talk. I'll be like, wait, and they'll roll the special open, and then she'll realize what's going on, and then we'll toss to the package of like her husband.
This is how we get free labor.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
I can't get them to commit a reporter for the show.
So it's fine.
I've hired Hannah's husband.
Doug, you're next.
Oh my God, he hates a haunted house.
Oh, me too.
Hates a haunted house.
Like, why? Why be scared?
I kind of like it because I guess as a kid, it wasn't a thing. I don't know if maybe, again, sometimes I don't know if it's an age thing, like, hey, they're popular now. Sometimes I don't know if it's a location thing because I don't live where I grew up. You know what I mean? Like that, like when something's popular, right? Like I'm like that with like Red Velvet, right? Was that always a thing, or was that a Texas thing, and that's why I never knew about it as a kid?
Heath is obsessed with it, so
was it around when he was a kid?
Probably.
I don't know. Like I feel
like red velvet is just like red food coloring and chocolate, but I don't tell Heath that because like I don't.
Do you eat it?
It's not really my thing.
I was going to say, I would be shocked to find that you put red food dye in your body.
I have actually made him one using beets to dye the thing. And I don't know.
That's a real party killer.
Yeah, he's a real party killer. Okay, but speaking of haunted houses, I have like such an embarrassing moment from one. Then that's why I hate them. You know Jay Cruz, he's been on your show.
Not yet, but yes, from Dee Dee.
Yes, from Dee Dee in the morning.
I thought you were talking about JC.
Comes in and shoots sometimes with us, like to be an added participant, like do some fun stuff with him. I've co-hosted a parade with him. Anyway, so we were going to do a haunted house together, and I was like legitimately scared. And all the video, I mean, we're both like married people. All the video, I could not help, but I'm like grabbing him. It's mortifying. I hate, like they keep re-airing the package. And I'm like, can you guys stop airing that? I need to like call his wife and be like, listen, it was if it could have been any Tom, Dick, or Harry there, and I would have grabbed onto him or her.
Or whatever.
Because I was so scared. And then I got out and I'm like, why? You were a grown adult.
No, they're scary. No. They do it. We're going to Cutting Edge Haunted House in Fort Worth. Have you ever been?
That was the one.
Was it? They do such a good job there. And now I get like a little like nerve. Like I've been there also like as a pedestrian, like at night when it's like, and it's like intense, like the crowd and the vibe, and it's all a little like Lost Boys-ish. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of like, ooh.
But the worst part was we were shooting a tease. And like the photographer needed to go to the other side of it to close the door to open it up to shoot this. And I got scared just standing there by myself. Like, can we go now?
Yeah. Like he is like, so it's at 1:00 in the afternoon and they are like calling in their staff. Yes. He's so good. Yes. I mean, if you have a chance, I will give them a shout out. Cutting Edge Haunted House. They also have that one out in Terrell. I think it's called Thrillvania, which is like 5 different experiences on one piece of property, which is super cool. Yeah. All right. Speaking of Halloween, I think we're out of time for today.
We are.
But I want to catch up because our Halloween tradition lives on this year with one twist that I need to tell you about. So, cliffhanger for you and for you too. Every Tuesday morning, we want to remind you that you can hop on and find a new episode of our podcast. It will be released at 7 a.m. on your favorite podcast platform. We thank you so much for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe so we can do what we love to do for you. And if you do nothing else today, go find yourself a friend you don't need to clean the house for. We'll see you soon.